Hey, what's happening? It's Jeff Pish. Today, doing something a little different. I'm going to talk about my gear and what I use, what kind of drums I have, cymbals, and all that kinds of fun stuff for some of you gearheads out there. Um, First, I actually have three different drum kits. We're just talking about my studio kit that you see most often on my channel, and let's get into it. So, first of all, I play a Pearl Print series. This is the front side view. Actually, we'll talk about the toms in a minute because there's a couple, you can see two different finishes there as we go through. So yeah, so this is a Pearl reference series I got at pandemic time. It took quite a long time to get here, but once it was here, it was worth it. Look at that beautiful finish. I've never had a sparkle kit before, so I wanted a sparkle kit, and yes, indeedy, I got me a sparkly kit. So when we're talking about sizes, so I got the 20-inch kick, and toms of the reference are 10, 12, and 14. Now, for my studio kit, these extra toms, if you will, and we shall, I've got this 8-inch up here. This is from my Pearl Masters MCX kit, and you know, I don't take the 8-inch out for gigs a lot when I use that kit. So I added it to the studio kit and it's worked really nicely. It's super fun to get up there and hit that little 8-inch. It's a great tom. Sounds like $1,000,000. And I've basically bookended this kit with the Pearl MCX because I put the 16-inch floor tom down here as well. That gives me an extra floor tom down low, extra low tom sounds to get after, which I certainly enjoy. Certainly enjoy that. So yeah, so there's the drums themselves. Now let's go ahead and get behind the kit here. Walking along, hopefully you don't get car sick or motion sick. Now back here, let's get into snare drum. So this snare drum is probably my favorite snare drum I've ever had. This is, let's see if I can get over here. This is the Pearl Omar Hakim 13-inch snare drum. It's an amazing drum. It sounds great in a variety of musical situations. I can tune it differently. It's just been such a versatile drum. I have no words, clearly, for this drum. I do have a couple other snare drums that I'll go to sometimes. There's a couple over there in the corner, but whoop, careful now. A couple in this rack here. So I have a Yamaha Anton Fig drum up top here that I also love. I've had that drum for quite a long time. And then down here is a Gretsch black steel with maple hoops. Another beautiful drum. I am a pretty big fan of maple hoops, of the wooden hoop drums. So that's why I got that on that was one of the options you could get with that Gretsch black steel, and it sounds great. So there's the drums. So I've got the Evans G2 Clear on the tops of the toms, and again, it's just for the studio stuff that I do. Again, it's just about versatility. Like I can tune them high if I'm doing like more fusiony kind of stuff. I can drop them if I'm doing more funky kinds of things. It's the G2 for me is just a really good blend of tone and articulation. So it's kind of the sweet spot for what I do here in my studio. I don't put anything on the drums. I'm a very natural sound player. I like to hear the drums. I like to hear the tones, especially in the toms. So I let those things open. You see I have a little dot here on the 16 just to tamper it very little bit. But otherwise, I'm pretty wide open on these tom sounds. And you kind of see on the bottom, I'm using the Evans EC Reso heads down there. Again, it's just a blend that worked for me. I found that, again, it gives beautiful tone, but it doesn't over exaggerate the tone. Like, it still has it tempered. It's got those black stripes and little mesh stripes on there, if you will. And we shall again. And it just helps control what that tone is. And I just think they sound like $1,000,000. On the kick down here, I've got the Evans UV EMAD. It's just a preference thing. Again, so drums in general, personal preference. Everyone has a different idea, I think, of what they think sounds great and what doesn't. It has to do with what types of styles you like to play, the different things you're doing. If you're looking for versatility versus being specialized in one style, that's going to affect what kind of drums and what kind of drum heads you get. So if you're trying to find what your sound is, try different things. Like, I've gone through a couple iterations on this kit alone of what heads I've tried. This just happens to be where I landed, and has proven to be, for me, for my personal playing, what I like the best. What I've kind of latched onto as a really cool sound for me. It might not be for you, and that's okay. If you like different sounds, let me know in the comments. Like, what drum heads are you using? What kind of drum kits do you guys have? I'm always curious. I always will catch a comment from time to time that's like, oh, I haven't seen those drums before, or different things. I love looking into that kind of stuff. So let me know, what are you hitting, and what kind of drum heads do you have on it? What works well? What works well for you for the sound you're trying to get? All right. So drums and the drum heads. Let's go up top here to the metal. Let's go left to right. Let's start over here with the hi-hats. So I'm using the 14-inch Zildjian Sweet Hats. Again, I'm going to say this probably a million times, personal preference. Like, I heard them before, and I went to the store and started hitting, and I love them. Like, they sound great. They're crispy. They're articulate. They, like, the flip chick sound is great. The splash sound is great. For the things that I like to do. Big fan. Keep it going. Up here I have this cool little Zildjian FX stack. This was just a fun piece to grab. I like it. I don't use it a ton, but it's nice to have as a sound option. You can get up here for a quick accent, things like that. Just quick little punchy sound. Next, over here, this is the Zildjian K Custom Dark Crash 18-inch. One of my favorites. This is a beautiful piece. It's robust. It's got that darkness, but it's not so dark that you don't hear it. Like, it still cuts through, the music, which is, what you really want out of a dark crash. There's sometimes you can get super dark, and then they're quiet and they don't cut through and give you that punch. But this I don't have to hit it hard to get great sounds out of it. Beautiful cymbal. Next, I have a little splash stack here that I use. It's separated, so they're basically independent cymbals. On the bottom here is another K Custom Dark. This is a 12-inch dark splash. Very cool sound. It's not, like I said, I like the dark stuff, especially in the studio, because it doesn't overwhelm, and I'm a big fan. On top of that, I have an A. This is kind of out of place, I think, a little bit, if you think about it. This is a 10-inch Zildjian A Flash Splash, and I heard one of these on a recording once and just really dug it. It's different. It stands out. So it's really cool for, like, again, a different kind of accent, something that's a little faster, but it has like this, it's hard to describe a little bit. Like, it's called a flash splash. It's a little flashy in its sound, and what it sounds like. Flash splash. But it's just, again, it's just a very cool, unique color to have. Moving on, another K. This is the 16-inch K Custom Dark Crash. More dark in the studio. Now, so this 16-inch, so it's a little higher pitched because it's a 16. So it's a little bit faster, but still dark. And again, so it doesn't overwhelm, which is a beautiful thing. And so I'll use this for, again, big accented phrases, but not the big boom when I'm going over to the 18. So it's a good punctuation, and I'll get there, as needed, and I use it a lot. This one I'll even, I put the 16 over there because if I'm doing like a harder rock and roll kind of thing, and I need to ride on a crash cymbal, I'll go to this, because it's a little bit smaller, a little brighter, and can give me that good articulation there as well, even though I'm crashing on it as a quote unquote ride. Next, ride cymbals. Let's talk ride. So I have 3 ride cymbals. This main one I have up currently, this is a 22-inch medium, right? I'm just making sure I get this correct. Yes, this is the 22-inch medium thin K Constantinople. This is like the holy grail. I love this thing. It's dark. It doesn't overwhelm. I use this in a lot of, if I'm playing live jazz, I'll take this out for sure. Even, some organ quartet stuff that I was involved with for years, I used that a good bit then. I like the bell, but it's not super. It doesn't overwhelm, which is great, especially in a live situation. You don't want to, destroy everybody else that's trying to play. All you hear is ride cymbal. You don't need that. You want it to be strong, but you don't want to take over all of the sounds and have it be out of balance. So there's that ride cymbal. Now, let me put this camera down here, see if we can do this without disaster. There we go. So let's switch it up. I also keep here a 20-inch regular K Custom ride. This one I've had for a really long time. I got this back in college, and it's a workhorse. It's a champion. I used this when I did, the rock and roll thing. It works really well in a big band as well, because now this ride cymbal, the bell is out of control good. Like it's coming at you. When that bell is happening, you're going to hear that in the back of the room. And even the ride itself, it's very articulate. It's got, to it. So it's coming at you. When someone goes to that ride cymbal, it's coming. It's a big chorus. It's a big loud hit section in a jazz big band. Those kinds of things. So I love this cymbal. I'll use it for heavier stuff, heavier funk kind of things. I don't take it out live as much these days. Once in a while I'll bring it out, for funk thing or a heavy blues and rock thing. Especially if I need that good crispy bell sound, I'll bring that, and it sounds like $1 million. Next one, so ride cymbal number 3. So this one I'll generally use as a second ride, in the studio. As you can see, there's no bell. This is the K 20-inch K Custom flat ride. This is a beautiful cymbal. It's a little more specialized. I don't often like to get specialized cymbals that you're only going to use in certain situations, but I love this cymbal. I got this again way back in college, and I still am a big Dave Matthews and Carter Beauford fan, and he basically, Carter's playing basically got me into flat rides, and so I was like, I have to have one. It sounds great. It's super articulate. So oftentimes I'll kind of I'll have like probably my K Constantinople here, and then I'll put the flat ride kind of up above it around here for certain things, depending on what I'm working on. And it's a really cool combo and just works really well. I love the cymbal. It's quiet, it's articulate, it's just shimmery. It's a beautiful thing. Gotta love it. And then last one over here that's set up. This is Sabian. What? Yes, I have a Sabian AAX 18-inch Chinese. It is a great cymbal. I'm not endorsed by anybody, so I can hit whatever I think sounds good. So that's why I have this cymbal. The story from this cymbal actually goes back to, again, this is a really old cymbal. I've had most of my cymbals for quite a long time. I was playing a show, and I was on my way. I think that the week before the show, my china had cracked, and a good friend of mine was working at a shop, a music shop, and Shane Rosum, my dude, I went in and he's like, "Oh man, man, you gotta have this cymbal, man." So I checked it out. I hit it a couple times, and I was like, "Dude, I'm sold." So I walked out with. At the time, all I had were Zildjians, and I walked out with this beautiful Sabian AAX China that I still use to this day, and I love it. Like, I think it sounds great. You know, when we talk about branding and all that kinds of stuff, and everything's I don't know, everything's a business, and you got to use this kind of cymbals and this brand and all the same brand and be brand loyal and blah blah blah, so you get your endorsement. You don't have to. Like, don't believe the hype. It's okay to use what you like. Like, you should use what you like. Drums, cymbals, sticks, drum heads, like all of the things should be what you like personally. I hope when you go out to purchase drums or cymbals or any kind of musical product, that you're not just buying it because so and so has one. I talked about the flat ride and how I got into that because of Carter Beauford. Yeah, I loved that sound that he had. So then I found out what it was, and then I went and found the one that I liked. To be honest, I don't know exactly which one he plays, but I wanted a flat ride because I dug what it was, and I found this one and really dug it. So that's why I got it. So with any purchase, like, I think 100% be influenced by the drummers you like, the music you like, but then dig in on it and say, okay, well, what do I like about that? And then go to the music store and hit stuff. Don't just order online. I have ordered online from time to time, but especially with cymbals, you want to hear that exact cymbal, because you could have two 18-inch K-Dart crashes sitting right next to each other and they sound different, because they have these tiny little variances. Even though they're factory made, there's always going to be a tiny variance, and you want to find the perfect piece for you as a player, not because so and so says you should have this cymbal or this drum or use this drum head. Experiment, try different things. I know it's expensive to try stuff, but in the long run, it's worth it. Once I grabbed onto these Evans G2s, for my studio kit, I never looked back. Like, that's what I get now. Every once in a while, I'll venture out and try something else just because, hey, maybe this sounded cool on this record that I just heard, and I'll get it for me, and maybe I won't like it. I've done that before, but again, personal preference. I can't emphasize that enough. Don't just do it because it's the cool cymbal to have or the cool drum set to have. Get it because you love it, because it makes you feel good about getting behind the kit. So let me know. What are you playing? What kind of stuff do you have? What's your instrument, your gear of choice, in the drum world, or cymbals that you really like? Drop me a comment. What do you think of my setup? It's a super fun setup to play, and I enjoy it. Again, this is my studio kit. I'll do my live kits in a future video, and we can check it out and let me know what you think. But I appreciate you for hanging out. I hope you got something out of this, whether it's just learning what I'm playing, or getting some validation in your choices and what you want to do and how you make the choices to pick some drums that you want to hit. So cool. Thanks for hanging out, and check out all the kinds of other videos on my page, playing stuff, education stuff, blah, blah, blah. Like, subscribe, all the things, share with your friends. And I appreciate you. Hope you're having a fantastic day. We'll catch you on the next one.